just in the park. I just had a bike ride. And tomorrow will be a year since my mom died. Since she died, I have left the United States. Her passing was it traumatic? Yes, to watch. She went nonverbal for 2 weeks before she transitioned. The mind is a funny thing because there are some things that I remember so vividly, and there are other memories that are starting to fade. I've been out of the United States for 7 months. I ride bikes. I walk around the park. I make videos. I moved to a country where I don't speak the language, where I only knew two people. Now I think I know six people. It's been a good move. I've had to overcome a lot. Hey, I didn't even know anybody was in here. I was just running my mouth about my mom. You know, tomorrow is a year. And yeah, it's hard. But I feel that I've turned a corner. I don't have any words of wisdom for taking care of a dying parent other than try to get your rest. I A lot of my life came to a halt while caretaking for my mom. So my mom, actually, I moved in with my mom, for those of you that don't know, in 2020. Because for those of you that don't know, I read tarot and do readings and all of that good stuff. And I got the sense that COVID was going to be pretty bad. I had prayed that it was going to be okay, but I got the sense that I probably shouldn't have been in Brooklyn. So I left Brooklyn, and just before what's his face shut down international travel, when he put that ban. So I moved in with my mom with supplies, masks, toilet paper. We didn't have to have toilet paper until like August of 2020. I also had like a survival box that had extra K95 masks in it, and I showed up at her doorstep. I had a Ford Explorer at the time, packed to the gills with clothes and food and blah, blah, blah. And she just gave me that look like, girl, what are you doing? Like she always did. And I just said to her, I have a sense it's going to be bad. And I don't think I need to be in Brooklyn, and I don't think you need to be alone. And I said to her, I feel like I pray for the best, but I want to be prepared. And prepared we were. So my mom and I definitely had a turbulent relationship. Extremely turbulent. And so moving into her house, I knew was going to be a lesson. I knew there was a lesson in it. I knew that it probably was an opportunity to heal some things. And it was rough. My mom was a chain smoker, so she, and she was 83. She would have been 84 this year. So that generation, she had been smoking since she was 14. Alcohol was also a big part of both of my parents' lives. And so during COVID, I coped by buying tarot decks and oracle decks and making magical candles and teaching over Zoom. That's how I coped. She coped by doubling up on the drinking and smoking. And so there were lots of arguments. Lots and lots. I'm not proud of that because she would smoke in the house, and that drove me nuts. And so, but then around, I would say 2022 or so, things kind of started to mellow out. Mind you, at the same time, I had my Brooklyn apartment, so that was another source of frustration. Was I had a Brooklyn apartment and I was living at my mom's, helping her pay the bills and paying all the bills in my apartment. So it was just like a stressful time for everybody. I'm not going to complain. So in 2023, she was diagnosed with dementia. They weren't worried about the dementia. They didn't think the dementia was going to spread, but it was the dementia that she got from drinking. And poor baby, because she had fallen down the stairs and broke a couple of toes in 2021. So she had broken toes. She was in her 80s, early 80s, and so she had to go into a rehab for her feet because she had broke her toes. Thank God, that's all she broke. And that was her third time falling. The first time she fell was well before COVID. Maybe that was like 2016 or so. She was at a card playing party and they had brought her home and she had fallen backwards. She was outside smoking and she had slipped on the ice and fell backwards on the cement. Then she fell like a couple of months later, again, going outside to smoke at my cousin's house. She fell off their porch into the bushes. Then she fell down the stairs. The first two times I brought her to the hospital, no concussion, nothing. They were like, you're lucky. Like, your age, no broken bone. But I started to notice that her, like, temperament was changing, right? And so after the third time she fell, I was like, then she fell again. She had some cloth slippers. I had bought us some cloth slippers from the vineyard and like woven knit slippers, and she got the slipper caught on the nail in the kitchen, hit her head on the kitchen wall. So I'm like, this lady has fallen a lot. Maybe she has a traumatic brain injury. Like, her memory is going. Is this just age? Is it like these falls? What is it? Nope, it was dementia from the alcohol. So poor baby, she couldn't really understand what that meant. And she was like, but I slowed down. And they were like, it's too late. The damage has already been done. But again, they didn't think that that was going to progress. They were more concerned about her COPD because she also had COPD. So, but even with all that said, she was still active. She was still like going around with me to places. Like once things started to open up and both of us were fully vaccinated, like if I would take road trips, she would go with me. I just started to bring her everywhere because I looked at her one day and I was like, wow, she's really skinny. She does not look well. And I just knew I couldn't really be like living in Brooklyn full time. I just knew that. So, which was heartbreaking. I talk about that in my podcast. How heartbreaking it was to like realize that I wasn't going to be like living in my Brooklyn apartment anymore, that I was a caretaker. So, anyway, so she gets diagnosed in 2023 with dementia. Like I said, though, she still has some energy. She's taking her naps and stuff, but she's complaining about her stomach. She's been complaining about her stomach for years and years and years. Doctors, nobody can find anything. They're like, oh, maybe you're constipated. Oh, last year, January, take her to the doctor. And I'm like, my mom has been complaining about her stomach for 5 years. And y'all know how they don't be listening to us. So I had already changed her doctor. I changed her doctor. And so I had a much younger woman, black woman doctor. She sent my mom for like every test. And then she was like, I don't like your blood cells. Your blood cells, something looks funky with that. So we got those tests in January. Um, so by late February, she was diagnosed with cancer of the urethra. Who the fuck gets cancer of the urethra? From smoking. So now we have dementia from drinking and we have cancer from smoking. So, so they're like, okay, we're going to take your urethra out. It's a 6-hour surgery. She's over 80. The doctor's trying to explain it to her. And you have to understand, like, she's like me. I, like, getting sick is, like, hardly ever. Like, my mother, I don't remember her ever really being sick. She had pneumonia, I think, before I was born. But all during COVID, she didn't get COVID. So she gets diagnosed. The doctor says, what do you want to do? And leaves the room and says, you all can talk about whether you want to have the surgery or not. So I am the only child. I took care of everything, house bills, doctor, everything. Capricorn rising, I took care of everything. So she's like, what should I do? I'm like, I cannot tell you what to do. Of course, inside, I'm like, get the surgery. Do whatever you have to do to be here, you know? But she says, I just want to go home and be with my family, my real family. So she want to go to the upper room. So I was like, okay. So doctor comes back. Doctor was an asshole, by the way. But she decides to have the surgery. So then she's also, something comes up on the scans, something in her back. Come to find out, she has cancer in her back, in her spine. So now she has it in her urethra and her spine. Surgery's off. They immediately start radiation. in her spine in May of last year. So all of May of last year, she's going, I think we did 13 rounds of radiation. And then the chemo started. Well, it wasn't chemo, it was immunotherapy because they didn't think she'd make it through chemo because she's like, she's losing weight. Like every time you go to the doctor, she's 90 pounds, she's 80 pounds, she's 70 pounds. And let me tell you something, ladies. Love your fucking bodies, okay? Like, I grew up, I was bullied because of my weight. I was called all types of shit because of my weight as a kid. And love your bodies, because I'm telling you, when that weight started, the same thing happened with my aunt who died. She was diagnosed in August of 2022. She was dead by December 31st of that year, pancreatic cancer. Also started losing weight. And we're all like, oh my God, you're looking so good. You're losing so much weight. Let's love our fucking bodies, okay? Because once that weight starts rolling off, it is not cute. So anyway, she's getting smaller and smaller. She's not eating. Like, it's just like horrifying, 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 horrifying. So she goes through radiation like a champ. Never complains. She gets sick once. I feel like I need some light in here. Anyway, so she gets diagnosed. She goes through radiation. She goes into the hospital, UConn, which I love UConn. She's treated so well, and we're at UConn for a couple of days, and she was like severely dehydrated and all this stuff. And poor baby, again, for somebody who's never really been sick, to spend like so much time in the emergency room and then being admitted, poor baby, she was just ready to come home. So anyway, she comes home for a couple of days, and then she starts declining again. So they put her in a rehab facility to get her stronger so she can get through the immunotherapy. And then she just starts to go down. So some things happened when she started to pass. Well, so about, I would say, a month or two before my mom died, she started calling out to people on the other side. So one day I came downstairs to, I think she was still going to the restroom by herself at that point. I wasn't having to help her with that. But I came downstairs for something, I can't remember what. And she's like, girl, your father was right next to me in the bed. And I was like, I just pretend like I didn't hear it. And she was like, he was right next to me. Your father was right next to me. And this is like a month before she died. Right next to me. And I was like, Then she calls me downstairs in the middle of the night. Now, this is when she's like actively transitioning. This is about a month later. And by now, she's like calling me her mom. So she'd call out, Mom, Mom. And then she'd say, Zoe, Zoe. So she's calling me her mom. And this is at night when she's like, she's in so much pain. And all I'm doing now is like, just medicate, just giving her pain meds, like anything to try to take the pain away. So she's calling me mom, her mom. And then she's calling for her dad. Then she starts calling people's names that I don't know. And come to find out they were like cousins from her childhood. And I I'm going through this pretty much, well, definitely alone in the house with her. Like, I have friends I could call, but, I'm going through this alone for the most part. You know, when your mom starts calling you her mother, when she's calling to people on the other side, who do you process that with? Then one night she calls me downstairs and she says, your father's at the top of the stairs. Help him do something at the top of the stairs. And I was like, I ain't helping him do nothing at the top of the stairs. I'm gonna just pretend like I don't hear you, lady. I'm not doing anything with my father at the top of the stairs, okay? No, ma'am. No, no, no. Mm-mm. No. So, yeah, so things just get progressively worse, but thank goddess she had an amazing oncology team, social worker, like, she told me exactly what to do to get her admitted, so to get her into the rehab facility. So then we get into the rehab facility. Now she's doubling down on calling dead people. Like, now she's calling everybody's like, which is good, I guess. They're there like to help her, to help her cross over, but it's fucking frightening to fucking watch. And so when she first got to the rehab facility, she was downstairs in the rehab place, and I'm standing there next to her, and she says, who's that standing behind, or she's talking to somebody. And I was like, Mom, who are you talking to? And she says, my friend. Can't you see him? He's standing behind my head. No, no, listen, I am a witch. I do spells. I make candles. I read tarot. I do meditation. Baby. But my mama, oh, I'm telling the story of my mom. Tomorrow is a year since my mom's passing. So I'm just sharing the last, well, what did I have? 7 months with her of her life last year. So basically, I'm talking about, I was in the rehab facility with her, and she's talking to people. She's talking to dead people. So she says, yeah, can't you see him standing behind my head? And I'm like, girl, no, and I don't want to see nobody standing behind your bed. Like, I don't care how much tarot I read, like, so I was like, well, who is it? And she was like, well, I'm not going to tell you because you talk too much. And you see, I do talk too much because, I'm telling my business, right? So she was 100% right. So anyway, so she went into the rehab. She started to decline. They were like, we got you. We're going to just move her upstairs to hospice. Like, so they moved her up to hospice. Thank God my mother had, she worked for the state. She retired from the state. She worked for the state tax department for the state of Connecticut. So her insurance was impeccable. Like, I didn't have to pay God for anything because her insurance was top notch. So thank God for that. It's like, even though it was so bad, so many things fell into place for us. I thank Goddess that she was not one of those parents that didn't let me, first, she couldn't wait for me to take over everything. Let's just be honest. So because I took over everything, the deed to the house, I had put in my name in like 2023. I had all her bills. If they weren't in my name, they all were electronic, so everything was on automatic draft. So things were very, very easy. I used to love when your mama would interrupt your readings and you'd be like, hold on. I know, right? I know. Everybody says that. Everybody says that. Like how much they miss seeing her on film. So yeah, so that part was easy. Administratively, we had everything on lock. And so we had nothing to worry about. They moved her up to hospice, great nurses up there. Um, by then, some families started to show up for the most part. It was my childhood friends. So, about a couple relatives showed up to whatever they showed up for. Um, and then, yeah, last July, the 22nd, she transitioned. And we had a beautiful homegoing ceremony. Oh, I should post that. I should post her homecoming. I should post her homecoming story. I mean, her homecoming video. If I can, I think. Oh yeah, I think I have it downloaded from the funeral home. But everything was smooth. Only child, so I don't have to fight with nobody about nothing. I had already taken care of everything. Again, administratively, everything was on top. Planned the funeral. My friends came through. The funeral was just phenomenal. Um, and then everybody went home, you know? And then I'm in a big house and full of her stuff, which I had been like throwing out forever. Um, but it was hard. Oh, God. It was hard. I did not think I would be able to make it without my, like, I just was like, I don't know how I'm going to make it without my mom. Like, but luckily, I talked to the dead. Not like her, but I set up my ancestor altar. And we just formed a beautiful relationship. I couldn't really set up her altar though it took me about 2 months to set up her altar. Um, well, to add her, I should say, to the altar that I already had. And that altar was live. They were like lots of healing. I have a little over here, so I'm looking at while I'm talking. But lots of healing, lots of family healing. So it's been a year. I left the country this January. Because I didn't feel like I could heal legitimately in the States. And so, yeah, things are good. Like I said, I ride bikes. I live across from a beautiful park. I feel very grateful. Um, my mother was very stubborn, Aries, and I knew that something she would not learn until she crossed over. That has been the case. You know, she she's given some report backs to some of my friends, my friends who are mediums and stuff like that, about, she was just tired of being here, basically. She wanted out. And so that made me feel good, because that made me feel like she had a sense of agency. I had that reading in February with this sister. She actually was on the podcast, Shonda. I didn't know her before that, but she gave me a great reading, and she said that my mom was just tired. She knew she had work to do spiritually and energetically, and she just did not want to do it in human form. She just didn't have the energy or the capacity. So she left. Life without parents. Life without parents is interesting, because I am an only child. So, on the one hand, there is a freedom, because nobody's criticizing me, nobody's critiquing me. Yes, I know it's the same thing. Um, yeah, there's just like a sense of freedom. I don't feel judgment. I don't feel judged. Um, I feel a sense of freedom coming back, because I felt very restricted, because there was a lot of spiritual and emotional labor that I was giving even before she got sick. A lot of codependency, So this year has been about me finding out who I am as an adult, fully formed adult, with no parents. Like, who am I now? The things I thought were important aren't really important, because what I realized is like a lot of the things that I wanted to do were wrapped up in taking care of my mom. Like, since I was a little kid, I was like, I'm gonna take care of you, mom. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Um, and that she was like my number one. Like, that's why I was working so hard. It was like, because I want to buy a house for my mom. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then one day in my grief here in Canada, because all there is to do in the wintertime is fucking sit in the house and cry because winter is brutal. Um, she came through and she was like, "But you did all those things. You did all the things that you said you were gonna do for me. You did it." And that gave me a huge sense of like, I did do it. I fucking did it. So there's that. So there's a freedom. There's a freedom. There's a gratitude that she left me at home, that I was able to rent. Um, so in a lot of ways, there's a lot of weight off of me, and being out of the States feels even lighter. I was in the States last week, and I didn't feel heavy. I felt very neutral, so I was glad about that. I felt like a total sense of neutrality all week. Um, but yes, I definitely feel free, and also I don't have anyone to take care of, right? Um, I can't call my mom and share good news. And also, if I'm honest, just she got diagnosed with dementia in 2023, but really, the mom that I knew kind of started checking out maybe around 2016, 2017, to be honest. Like, I think she stopped remembering my birthday around 2013, 2014. So, in a way, she was kind of gone anyway. So, when I grieve, I'm grieving like we did come to a lot of closure and a lot of healing, but I'm also grieving what I didn't get. And when I see women with their moms now, like shopping, that's hard. That's hard. Whenever I see women with their moms, it's hard. Because that was me and my mom. We went everywhere together. So, what else? Uh, I'm totally okay not talking to 99% of my family because I don't have parents. Okay? Um, I've connected a lot of the dots. I've had a lot of dots connected for me from family friends of my mom's and the couple of relatives that I do talk to. I've had some dots connected. That's been helpful. I've come to the understanding that I was loved, that my parents absolutely loved me, that my grandparents loved me and cared for me, that I was a cared for and loved child. Um, that's been helpful. And yeah, so I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Um, I don't know what I probably won't do anything special tomorrow just because I keep their altar. I pretty much change the water every day. Um, it's an active altar, so I don't feel like I have her ashes there on the altar, so it's not like, um, there's anything really special for me to do. And I'm not in the country, so I did give some, I gave offering to the Connecticut River when I was there last week. So I gave offering to them then. And I think that's kind of it. Like, some other miraculous things happened the day she died to let me know that this stuff is real. Um, oh my God, the revelations about growing up in the secret society that I had forgotten, like growing up in the Daughters of Isis. Like, Isis is showing up in my meditations now. So I'm really delving into that lineage. I'm delving into that Egyptian lineage. Um, I'm really proud of my family. I said that on my podcast. I'm really proud of them, with my father being Jamaican, coming to the United States at 18, not finishing high school, becoming an entrepreneur, starting his own business as a plumber, uh, moving us, out of the hood in the early 70s to the suburbs, 1972. My grandparents from the South left the South as teenagers. You know, um, so I've really come to have a fondness for my family now that my mom has passed and I'm in more communication. Um, I've stopped complaining about them because my grandfather came to me like a month ago and was like, okay, like, girl, we get it. We get you suffered, but now it's time to shut up. He was like, you think you had it bad? We had it bad. And I was like, fair. Fair. So, yeah, so I've just had a very interesting year. I'm very grateful. Obviously, I'll miss my mom. I mean, obviously, I still think about my dad all the time. So I know I will never. I know it will change. Um, I just think it's really hard because I was with her every single day. Like, unless I was traveling, I was with her every single day. Just like Natural Heaven was saying, like, my mom was always coming in the camera, whether I was working, doing a meditation, doing readings. She didn't care. So, my hope or not my hope, we don't hope. My next steps will be to post more. I've been posting a lot on Instagram. Um, these past 4 years have taken a lot of energy from me, energetically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. So, I haven't really been able to work. I'm just now starting to work again. Um, so it takes a lot to do readings. It takes a lot of energy. And so that's why it's been sporadic, because it's just really hard to like get myself like going to do it. But I'm doing it more on Instagram, so I'm happy about that, doing my readings on Instagram. And then, of course, my podcast. Oh, somebody just gave me money. Thank you. Period. Um, One of my students just gave me money. So, and I'm also have a new course starting. Um, so, yes, I'm still doing one-on-one spiritual work with students, but I've opened it up now to take on more students and also to do groups. So I'm super excited about that. Those are called the heroine's journey. So I'm teaching people everything about ritual, like everything I know about ritual, like everything that I've practiced on myself for years and what I teach other people. So working with nature, um, building your intuition, doing actual rituals like making candles. One of my students just got attuned to Reiki because I'm a Reiki master, so he came up here to Canada. He got his Reiki 2 and his Reiki 3. I usually don't give back to back like that, but he came all the way from North Carolina to Canada. So I was like, we finna give you a 2 and a 3. So I'm doing that. So yeah, I am taking it easy. I'm taking it slow. Honestly, like I was just outside riding my bike. Um, yeah, I'm taking it slow. I'm taking it slow. And slow living. Slow living. And being grateful, and yeah, that's my life right now. Um, yeah, that's my life. So that's it. That was my rambles. It gets easier. You will have that desire to wish you could call them or notice other people with their mothers. It's hard, but look for the messages from her and the strangers who come to say hello. Yeah, I went to this lady's play on Friday. Maybe she'll be a new colleague. We'll see. And her mom just came from behind. Somebody came behind, just hugged me from behind. And I was like, maybe she doesn't know who I am. Maybe she thinks I'm somebody else. And the girl was like, no, my mom just hugs everybody. And so I said to her, oh, thank you. I need a mom hug. And so she gave me a hug. So that was a blessing. So yeah, that's it, folks. You know, I don't want to be corny and say hug your loved one, but you know, hug them, I guess. Hug them, child, because they not going to be here forever. So, you know, just try to put up with it. I mean, obviously, and I know everybody has different situations because, like I said, we had our times, and it's if the parent is willing to do the work, which mine did not. She did a little. She did what she could, I guess. But so I get it. I know in some cases people are just not doing their completely their content. But if you're not, hug them. And I guess that's it. And make your altars, you know, if you feel called, make your ancestor altars. I feel like it makes a big difference. Um, yeah, that's it. I'm gonna hop off. Talk to you soon. Bye. Oh, thank you.